We are looking at chapter number 1, Constitution, Why and How. We will talk about Constitution. We'll take the Indian Constitution, how it was built and how it has taken the shape. So first of all, all the discussion will be about working of Indian Constitution. So we'll be talking about the Indian Constitution. So the government and the various principles that bind the institutions of the government, they have their origin in the Constitution of India. That is, the Constitution decides various things. The Constitution decides, declares, defines various things about the government, about the different institutions which are under the government. So what we are going to see is what exactly Constitution means and what is the Constitution for the society. That means for us, for the normal people, what does Constitution do and what does it mean for us? And then how does this Constitution divides the power to different institutions, to different parts of the society? And how was the Indian Constitution was made? What was the process? Who were involved? How long does it take? So before we start, let us ask a question. Why do we need a constitution actually? Just imagine that you are in a group. That is, you are a member of a reasonably large group. Say you are in this group, I am in this group, one of our friend is also in this group. Now you can be a Muslim, I can be a Hindu, you can be from a lower caste, I can be from a higher caste, this person can be, say, a Sikh and he may be from some other class. And we have different profession. You may be an engineer, I may be a doctor, he may be, say, a technician, a mechanical technician. So we have different professions. Some are poor, means you may be rich, I may be poor, he might be some moderate kind of person. And because of our understanding, we have different thoughts. That is, in various things, we may have some kind of disputes. I will not call it as a dispute, but we may have differences because we are different kind of people. We come from different community. We come from different backgrounds. So there may be some, because we are in a single group. So when we discuss, say we are discussing how much property should one be allowed to own in a country, we are living here. And is it compulsory to send our children to the school? And how much we spend money, say money for our security, safety, for the country's safety and security. Should we build a hospital or should we build a park? Can we both, means you and me, can we both come together and we discriminate against this? Means Hindu and Muslim, we just get together and start discriminating this Sikh person? That is, can we discriminate other people? Now, your question, my question, same question, but the answers which you and I are going to give, they are different. Because we are diverse. We are different kind of people. Right? So we need a kind of cooperation because, say, if I'm an engineer, something happens, you come to me. If you are, I'm ill, I have come to you. If we have to do, say, our car broke down, we have to go to this person. So we are a social animal. Human being is a social animal and we have to live together. So there has to be a cooperation. So because of the dispute also, differences also, we need to live together. So we need to have a cooperation between ourselves. So now, why will the group need certain basic rules? Because what will happen? We need certain rules, certain regulation, certain niyam, kanun, so that we live together peacefully. We all have some kind of disputes or problems or whatever differences we have, but still we want to live together. So we need to follow certain basic rules. Because what can happen that if we come together and we made certain situation and we made in the background certain policy that we are going to discriminate this guy and we are going to do something bad to this person. So what will happen to this sick person? Will he be able to live in this group? No. He will be scared to live here because we are now making a group of ourselves and we are trying to discriminate or trying to do something bad with them. So there has to be, every member of the group should have certain rights. They need to understand that these rules are publicly promulgated, means agreed upon. And all the members, you, me and the sick person, we know that there is some minimum degree of coordination between us. That is why we need, in order to live in a society, in a country, we need certain kind of rules and regulations that we all know, and beyond this, if it goes, it will be legally enforceable. That is, the rules are legally enforceable, and if these rules are not followed, if we try to do something to this guy because of the rules and regulation, because it is enforceable by the law, we can go to jail. We can be taken to task. So that is how, we know that if something bad can be thought or done, the people who are doing bad will be punished. So let us come to the first function of the Constitution. The first function of the Constitution is to provide a set of basic rules that allow for minimum coordination amongst member of the society, you, me and this person. We need to have certain rules so that we have certain kind of coordination between us and we live together. This is the first task of the Constitution. Then the second task, we will be talking about what is the second task of the Constitution. A Constitution is a body of fundamental principles according to which a state is constituted or governed. That is, the Constitution says how the state is going to be run, what kind of government is formed, how the government will be formed, how they are going to rule. So the Constitution has to provide certain answers. That is, say, if a group A is there, a group B is there. I am not going to the community, religion, etc. Just understand that this group, say it has some 1000 people, this also has 1000 people. Now this group says that whatever we say is correct. Now this group also says whatever we say is correct. Or this B group says whatever you are saying is incorrect. A group is saying that whatever you are saying is incorrect. So there is a situation of deadlock. Who is going to decide? Who is going to nirnay kaun lega? Who is going to decide? Now the Constitution is going to give the answer. Whether A is going to take the decisions, A is going to make the rules, A is going to govern, or B is going to govern. So this is the Constitution giving us the answer. Now if you take the example of Soviet Union, what happens there? What happened there? A single party was given the power to decide that single party, that is the Communist Party, it is going to do all the decision. But when we talk about India and other democratic constitutions, that is the constitution which are democratic, loktantric, the people get to decide who is going to govern them, who is going to be the government, who is going to take the decision. So in most of the democratic constitutions, we have around 3/4 of the countries which are democratic. So people decides here. So in Indian Constitution, for instance, it is clearly mentioned and specified that in most instances, the parliament is going to, that is what we call the legislature, the parliament is going to decide the laws and the policies. Who is going to decide? Parliament. And the parliament itself it is organized in a particular manner. This also is defined by the Indian Constitution. So the second task or second function of the Constitution is coming. The second function of a Constitution is to specify who has the power to make decisions in a society, for a country, for a society, for a group, for a samu. Who is going to take the decision? This is clearly mentioned by the Constitution. Now coming to the third function of the Constitution. Limitation on the powers of government. So what does it mean? The third function of a Constitution is to set limits on what a government can impose on its citizen. These limits are fundamental in the sense that the government may never trespass them. So if a government, see, the government is based on the majority, say a majoritarian government come to power. For example, in Sri Lanka, what happened? This Sinhali or Sinhala, this was the majority and their government came. So what they did, they put Tamil in front and the Buddhist, the Tamil language and the not Tamil, the Sinhala language in front and the Buddhist religion. So what happened to the Tamilians? What happened to the Hindus and the Muslims, etc., other ethnicity? They were crushed and there was an unrest of more than 20 plus years in that country. So if the government is not inside certain periphery, or if the Constitution does not decide that the government is not going to go out of this Constitution limits, it is not going to trespass, then only the things will be good for the minorities, basically the minorities and the marginalized class. This is decided by the Constitution. So Constitution is actually limiting the power of government. And the most important way and the common way how to limit the power of the government is to give the fundamental rights to the citizens. Give the fundamental rights to the citizens. That is, the fundamental rights can never be violated by any government. Like I can have a freedom of religion. I can have a freedom of speech. I can have a freedom of expression. So when I have all these, the government can do nothing to, or whatever it does, it can never violate my fundamental rights. This is what is the third function. Okay. So now citizens will normally have right to do certain basic liberties, as I just said, the fundamental rights, that is freedom of speech, freedom of conscience, freedom of association. They can make a trade union, they can do business. So that is how these things are done. But let me tell you that in certain emergency situations, these fundamental rights or these certain paridhi or the boundaries government can pass. So the fundamental rights can be taken or withdrawn in this emergency situation. But this emergency situation in India has come only once, and we don't see in future that this is going to happen. Now the next thing comes, what the Constitution does. This is the fourth function. So let me tell you about this fourth function of the Constitution: aspirations and goals of a society. Now you and me, what do we want? We want job, we want education, we want health, we want roti, kapda, makan, right? This is all what we want. So every citizens or any normal citizen of a country, they have certain aspirations. They want certain things. So the aspirations and goals of the society, the people, the Constitution, or you can say the Indian Constitution, is just the reflection of these things. It is just reflecting that what people want. People don't want inequalities. They don't want poor and the rich difference. They don't want some SC, ST and Brahmanwad. They don't want. They just want the whatever inequality is there in the society, they don't want. They want to live their life without deprivation. They want to be enabled. They want to get empowered. So this is how these people would want to live. And for that, in order to remove all these, say, inequalities and deprivation and all those things which are not accepted by the normal citizen, the government needs to be given power. That is, the government needs to be enabled and empowered So the government takes certain measures to do things for the minorities and especially the marginalized class. So in South Africa, we have seen what happened. There was a long history of apartheid, that is the racial discrimination. So the new constitution of South Africa, it has clearly enabled the government to end this racial discrimination, not to lessen or not to just diminish. The South African government or South African constitution has clearly given those rights to the government in order to finish, in order to remove this racial discrimination. See, the framers what they have idea or what they thought is that it is necessary that every person in the society, they should be given minimum dignity and minimum social respect. That is as I said, education, health, etc. So this is the Indian Constitution theory and crust which was in the mind of the framers of Indian Constitution. So the fourth function of a constitution is to enable the government to fulfill the aspirations of a society and to create conditions for just society. That is a society which is nyayapurn, justified for everyone. And those like us who want something, who have aspirations, the constitution tries to fulfill it. Now coming to the fundamental identity of a person or a people, if you say a person, he can be from certain religion, he can be from certain caste, he can be rich or poor. So this is the identity which a person normally has. But now the people as a collective entity come into being only through the basic constitution. So you, me, or whichever else, we come to a collective entity, not like this, but a collective entity we have only because of the constitution. That is, when we are agreeing, we all are agreeing to certain basic norms, certain basic principles. That is, the principle one constitutes. Now we have certain political identity. Then the constitution sets certain constraints. Authoritative constraints means it has certain authority. And what the constitution says, this you can do, this you cannot do. So it has certain constraints which are on us, on the society. So this defines the fundamental values that we may not trespass. We cannot do what is wrong. What we can do is what is right. So now we have the moral identity. So political identity as a whole and a moral identity in terms of the fundamental values which we cannot trespass or go beyond, which we cannot do. This is given by the constitution. And third, more important thing is that it may be the case that many basic political and moral values are now shared across different constitution traditions. Means there are certain basic rules and denominations, certain rules and regulations that has to be given to all the citizens, and that are carried out. Whether you take the constitution of England, you take constitution of say Italy or say India, all have certain basic norms which are shared and which are given to the society and the individuals. Most modern constitution, they create a form of government that is democratic. That is, democratic means for the people. So most of the, as I said, 3/4 of the country of the world, they are democratic. So they form the government that are democratic. And most of them, they say that we are protecting the basic rights of the people, basic rights of the citizens. And as we have seen that this England constitution, let us say we have a constitution. We say this constitution is very good. Can we apply this constitution to England, to Pakistan, to India, to Myanmar at the same time? No. Because all these countries, they have a different historical background. They have this different history, traditions, different revolutions, etc. For example, if you take Germany. Now the constitution of Germany, the German identity was constituted by being ethnically German. And the constitution of Germany, it gave this expression of the identity to these Germans. So this cannot happen elsewhere. For example, if you take India, the Indian constitution does not do that. It is the tradition, it is the World War situation, it was the history of Germany which actually gave the advent of what is going to be in the constitution. But Indian constitution does not make this ethnic identity, being an Indian, being a Hindu, being a Muslim, it does not make ethnic identity a criteria of citizenship of an Indian citizen. Coming to the authority of a constitution. So what we have seen in the constitution, about constitution, we can ask certain questions. First is, what is a constitution? How effective is this constitution? And is a constitution just, nyayapurn? In our country, constitution is available in the form of a book. So in most of the country, constitution is a compact document, dastawez, that comprise of number of articles about the states, specifying how the state will be constituted and what norms will be followed. That is, how the states would be constituted. Now, apart from this, there are certain countries, we talk about India, we talk about various countries, we have a proper booklet, proper book. But in some countries like the UK, United Kingdom, the single document is not called a constitution. They don't have a single document that can be called as a constitution. Rather, they have a series of documents. So there is one document, another document like this. And also the decisions, these are document 1, document 2 like this, and the decision 1, decision 2. So all these, they are collectively called as a constitution. That is why UK has this type of constitution. Now the mode of promulgation, what does it mean? How do this constitution is made acceptable to each and every person of that country? Promulgation means that. So in many countries, why constitution failed? What is the reason? Because this constitution was made by the military leaders or by the leaders who are not popular, you can say non-popular leaders, those people who cannot carry people, those leaders who cannot carry people with them, that is, the people don't have faith in them. If we talk about the most successful, good constitution of the modern world, it's from India, from South Africa, United States of America, like this. Why? Why these constitutions are so famous? Why they are most regarded? Because all of them have come from some or the other national movements. That is, the popular national movements have given rise or given shape to this constitution. For example, India, we were, for 200 years, British ruled us, so we were not independent. We had a proper, revolution, let us not call it as a revolution, but the way we got this constitution, we had to go through national movements. Similarly, South Africans, there was apartheid between blacks and white, so racial discrimination was there. So there was a proper national movement that gave rise to the present constitution. Now, although this India's constitution was formally created by a constituent assembly, Samvidhan Sabha, let us call it as Constituent Assembly, Samvidhan Sabha. It was formally created by this CA, Constituent Assembly, between December 1946 to November 1949. So around 3 years, or to be precise, 2 years, 11 months and 18 days. So why it was so successful? Because it has the property and it has all the content which take all the different sections of the society under consideration. So the constitution, why it got so much acceptance or enormous legitimacy? From the fact that by people realized, accepted, and the people who made it, they were acceptable. That is, this constitution enjoys immense public credibility. The framers of the constitution, they enjoy immense public support, and who had the capacity to negotiate and command the respect of wide cross section of the society, because we are very diverse. India is a diverse country. In certain countries what happened, they made a constitution and they put it in front of the public. That is Janmat Sangraha. They put this constitution in front of the public for the referendum. That is, all the people, they vote on the desirability, what is good, what is bad in the constitution. But the Indian constitution, we never had any kind of referendum. But we have this constitution with enormous public authority. Why? Because the leaders, the framers were very popular, and people believed in them. Then whatever they are going to make is representing each section, diverse section of the society. That is why the authority of people who enact the constitution helps to determine in part its prospects for success. So if you say a constitution is going to be a success, it depends on these people whether they believe it or not, or whether they just don't believe it. So this is dependent on the people acceptance. Coming to the substantive provision of a constitution, see, it's a hallmark of a successful constitution that it gives everyone certain reason to go along with the provision. I'll just tell you that, say this is a constitution. You and me, why would I respect this constitution? Why would I believe in this constitution? Each of us should have certain thing here which helps us, which make our development, our fraternity development, our caste, creed, religion, whatever we have, our development possible. For example, let's assume a constitution where, say, I am a Hindu, you are a Muslim. So I am in a majority, around 81% we are in India, Muslims are around 14 to 15%. Now the constitution gives a right for Hindus to kill Muslims or to discriminate the Muslims. Whether these Muslims will be accepting this constitution? No. So when everyone has some or the other acceptance or belief in the constitution, then only the constitution holds acceptable. Coming to the balanced institutional design, if a constitution is good, for example the Indian constitution or various other constitutions we see, the power distribution is very subtle and very well defined. See, we have a constitution, the power is specifically divided into the legislature, the executionary and the judiciary. That is, we don't want, say, a legislature, if legislature is given all the power, it is going to destroy sometime executive and judiciary. So intelligently, how to fragment power, how to distribute the power, and so that a single group, single institution does not subvert the constitution, finish the constitution, remove the constitution. This is called a well-crafted constitution. We don't want in any constitution that it should provide a single monopoly or some part of the government, it acquires all the monopoly, or single power station should be there, single power hub should be there. It should not be there. It should not be given by the constitution. So what is the best thing? To fragment the power, to distribute the power. Satta ki batwari. Satta ka batwara. For example, in Indian Constitution, we have horizontally fragmented or distributed the power across the legislature, the executive and the judiciary. And we have other independent bodies like the Election Commission of India, they also have power. So now there is not a single institution which enjoys the single monopoly, and they may be in a position, they are not in any position to destroy anything which they want. So successful constitutions strike the right balance between the preserving core values and adapting them to new circumstances. For example, we have a constitution, say it was made in say 1950s. Now we are running in say 2020. So the situation has changed. So if something comes here, the constitution should have the adaptability. The constitution amendments can be done. So this is called a good constitution. So it is adapting to the new circumstances and also preserving the core values. The basic value should not be changed for which the constitution has been made. Our Indian constitution is called as a living document. We'll talk about that because we have a proper balance and now the constitution is well respected, and the arrangement we have is that all the sections of the society, all the groups of the society have respect in this constitution, and no single institution can subvert or finish this Indian constitution. So if you want to just ask whether a constitution is good or not, you just need to ask three questions. First question is whether the people who enacted the constitution credible, that is, who made these constitutions. For example, these are the framers of the constitution. Are they credible enough? That is, can we believe on that? If yes, the constitution is good. Second, did the constitution ensure the power as intelligently organized so that it may not be easy for any group to subvert the constitution? So is the power distribution good? If it is seen yes, the power is distributed properly, we say it is a good constitution. Third question we can ask is the constitution just, or does it give justice to everyone, or is the possibility of justice for everyone is there? Yes, the Indian constitution gives that, so it's a good constitution. Now coming to how this constitution was made, how it came into being, first thing is, formally the constitution was made by the Constituent Assembly, Samvidhan Sabha. This was called as a Samvidhan Sabha. And this started in the undivided India. India was not divided into Pakistan and India. India was single with Pakistan in it. So it has its first sitting on 9 December 1946 and reassembled because now the India has divided. So now this Constituent Assembly again assembled on 14th August 1947. Now this is undivided India and this is divided India. And the members were elected by indirect election by the members of the provisional legislative assemblies that have been established in 1935. For example, this is one province, this is another province. So you can say the MLAs or provisional league assemblies. This is League Assembly 1, this is League Assembly 2. So they have nominated or elected the Samvidhan Sabha members or the Constituent Assembly members. So the Constituent Assembly was composed roughly along the line suggested by the plan which is proposed by the Committee of British Cabinet, and this is also known as the Cabinet Mission. So according to this plan, how was the Samvidhan Sabha being made or Constituent Assembly being made? That is, we have certain province and we have princely states. So these are princely states and these are the province, or you can say princely states or group of states. So one state, two states, these are the group of states. So they were allotted the seat in the proportion of their population. 1 is to 10 lakh. That is 1 is to 1 million. So for 1 million, one member will be elected. So as a result, the provinces that were under these provinces which are under the British rule, and also we have the princely state which are not under the British rule. So the provinces that are under British rule were to elect 292 members, while these princely states and these states, combined states, were allotted 93 seats. 292 from the British ruled states and 93 from the princely states. And the seats in each province were distributed among the three main communities. So we have three communities, Hindu, Muslim, and then we have the Sikhs. So Hindu, it was called as a combined or a general community because it was in the majority. Members of each community in the provisional legislative assembly elected their own representatives. Like Muslims only elected Muslims, Sikh only elected Sikhs, their own representative by the method of proportional representation with single transferable vote. That is, only single vote was allotted to everyone. And the method of selection in the case of representatives of this princely state here was determined by the consultation. So the princely states, they discussed, they have consultation, and then the 93 members will be elected or represented. The composition of the Constituent Assembly, that is the Samvidhan Sabha, as a consequence of the partition under the plan of 3 June 1947, those members who are elected from the territory now which is under the Pakistan, now they were not there. So the number of Constituent Assembly members reduced to 299, of which 284, only 284 were actually present on 26th November 1949, and they actually signed the final constitution. So the members of the assembly were not elected by universal suffrage, that everyone didn't vote for this member of Constituent Assembly, but it was clearly attempted, serious attempt was made that all the representation, proper representation was done in this Constituent Assembly. So members of all the religion were given proper representation under the scheme described, which we just described. Along with this, the assembly had 26 members, from which 26 members from scheduled classes, SC classes. So at that time Congress was in domination. So assembly, they have around 82% of the seat, but because Congress was also so diverse, every idea was accommodated here. Coming to the principle of deliberation, what happens to the, say if this is the Constituent Assembly, we have different members. Now each member deliberated upon the constitution with the interest of whole nation in mind, means they are thinking about the whole nation, and there were often disagreement between people. So they started disagreeing, but disagreeing on the facts. But this disagreement could be traced to members protecting their own interest. And this is very important. When a debate will come, something good comes out of the debate. So as the differences were quite there, because people come from different sections, society, etc., to represent in the Constituent Assembly, the points were, for example, the difference point were, should India adopt a centralized or decentralized system of government? Should be the relation between the state and center, how should it be there? What will be the powers of judiciary? Should the constitution protect property right? All these were the points of discussion between the people which were present in the Constituent Assembly. Only one provision that was passed without any debate, and this was the universal suffrage. That means all the citizens reaching certain age can vote, devoid of, means they may be from any age, irrespective of any religion, caste, education, gender or income, all are allowed to vote. So this has no debate, everyone passed it. The Constituent Assembly simply passed it. So these debates were properly formulated. There are also documents available. So now these were the debates that happened, and all the public, normal public, were allowed to be present in the debate along with the media persons. Coming to the procedures, in the Constituent Assembly there were 8 major committees, and usually they were headed by Jawaharlal Nehru Sahab, Rajendra Prasad Sahab, Sardar Patel Sahab, Maulana Azad Sahab, Ambedkar Sahab. But the problem is, and the situation was, it was not a problem actually, it was a good thing. Each one of them have different thoughts, different ideas. For example, Ambedkar Sahab was a great critic of Congress and Gandhi. They said that Congress and Gandhi have done nothing for the upliftment of scheduled caste. So there was a disagreement, and when they agree to disagree, that is the beauty of the Indian Constitution. And there was a proper attempt made to reach a consensus with the belief that provision agreed by all would not be detrimental to any particular interest. That is, if any anything was thought that is favoring any particular community or caste or creed, that was just scrapped. So the provision was to include that consensus, include everything to reach a consensus so that it helps everyone. So the assembly met for 166 days, spread over 2 years, 11 months and 18 days. And finally, these sessions, as I said, it was open to press and public and people can come here. And the inheritance of nationalist movement, what was there? The Constituent Assembly was actually giving only the principles which were inherited or which were presented in the nationalist movement, because India got its freedom after 200 years and there was a nationalist movement. So whatever was thought at that time, people have aspirations. The constitution is just the shape and form of that thing. That is the government that is going to be formed, which was actually based upon the national movement thoughts, right? It will uphold the inequalities. It should overcome all those thoughts which has come under the national movement. This was the idea of making the constitution by the Constituent Assembly. And the best summary of the principles that the nationalist movement brought to the Constituent Assembly is the objectives resolution. Objective resolution, that is the resolution that defined the aims of the Constituent Assembly. That is, what are the aims of the Constituent Assembly, what this Constituent Assembly who is going to make the final constitution is supposed to do. And this was presented by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So based on this resolution, our constitution gave institutional expression to these fundamental commitments. What are the commitments? Equality, liberty, democracy, sovereignty, cosmopolitan identity. So the basic idea, basic things were presented as the Uddeshya Prastavna, that is why this, what are the aspirations, what are the aims of this Constituent Assembly making a constitution. So constitution established a government that will fulfill many promises that the national movement held before the people. So national movement has said that people will get this thing, when we will get freedom, we are going to give you this, all that has to come in the constitution. So these are the key points of the objectives resolution. That India is an independent sovereign republic. This was presented by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. India shall be a union of erstwhile British Indian territories, Indian states and other parts outside British India, and Indian states are willing to be a part of the union. Then territories forming the union shall be autonomous units and exercise all powers and functions of the government and administration except those assigned to or vested in the union. All powers and authority of a sovereign and independent institution in India and its institution shall flow from the people. That is, the people are the key points. All people of India should be or shall be guaranteed and secured social, economic, political justice. That is, all equality and samanta will be there. Equality of status and opportunities and equality before law and fundamental freedoms like the speech, expression, belief, faith, worship, vocation, association and action. This subject to law and public morality. The Hashia people, the minorities, backward and tribal areas, depressed and the other backward classes, they shall be provided adequate safeguards like we have given reservation to the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBCs. Then the territorial integrity of the republic, that is the defense, Indian defense, and its sovereign rights on land, sea and air shall be maintained according to the justice and law of civilized nations. That is, will not fight with anyone, but if someone fights with us, will not go back or step back. The land would make full and willing contribution to the promotion of world peace and welfare of mankind. So there was this is the Uddeshya Prastavna or objective resolution. You need to understand this. Then the institutional arrangement, the Constituent Assembly spent a lot of time. How this balancing can be done, balancing of power for legislature, executive and judiciary was done. And that is how we have a parliamentary and the federal arrangement. That is, we have a central government, then we have a state government, then we have a Panchayati Raj. Also, we have other form of government. So there is a proper distribution of powers between different government, and we have a strong central government as well. And we have borrowed the constitution ideas from different countries. So each provision, we have just not blindly followed or taken the provisions of different constitution. Those ideas which have grounds or which we can defend that it is suitable for Indian community, Indian society, aspirations, and it suited the Indian, or it has some Indian problems inherited in it, that points we took from different constitution. So assembly, they do not have parochial, that is Sankirna Mansikta. They took whatever is good from everywhere, from different constitution. I'll just show you what we took. From British Constitution, we took first past the post, that is who got the maximum vote will win. Parliamentary form of government which we have, the idea of the rule of law, that is Kanun ki Vyavastha, institution of the speaker and his role, law making procedure, how the law will be made, this is taken from the British Constitution. From Irish Constitution, we took the directive principle of the state policy. From the French Constitution, we took equality and fraternity principles. From Canadian Constitution, we take the quasi-federal form of government, that is a federal system with a strong central government. We have a strong central government and state governments. The idea of residual powers, that is the powers will be distributed properly. And from United States of America Constitution, the Charter of Fundamental Rights, the power of judicial review and independence of judiciary. न्यायालय की independent व्यवस्था. So what we have seen is that the constitution was made, and the idea of the constitution was to fulfill the aspirations of the people of India, their requirement, that is what national movement has promised them. And we have taken the content from various different constitution. India, South Africa, United States of America, these are well respected constitution because they are made out of the national movement, and the proper book has been created by various members which was elected from different princely states and different British ruled states. And now this constitution is like a Bible for the Indian people. So this is all about this topic. Thank you so much and take care of yourself.